Hey guys, welcome to Now Less Debatable. I'm your host, Fantastic Facade, and I am joined with my trusty co-host, Triple A the Humanist. Today we have a very special guest coming at you from Central Time Zone, so we've scheduled around that. But everybody, welcome Mario to the show. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about morality and probably a little bit about just origins, that kind of thing, depending on how the conversation goes. But welcome to the show, and we're gonna kind of kick it off and go ahead and jump right in, both feet. And of course, chat, you're always welcome to ask questions, and I'll try to get them in front of our guest. My camera will probably be off for most of the show just because it is like 90 degrees in my apartment, so I'm just like profusely sweating. But anyway, if you guys have questions or comments, say so in the chat. I'll be monitoring that. Without further ado, let's go ahead and kick things off. How are you guys doing today?
Hello, man. How are you, Mario?
Good.
So,
I'm doing pretty good today.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's all I had to say. It's been a fun
Okay.
day.
Well, I was gonna say that this is those of you watching, Mario is actually a very special guest because I used to work at a Christian summer camp. I was a counselor. I'd have kids under my tutelage, and I do activities with them, and then preach to them, preach the gospel to them in between. And Mario is one of my one of the kids that I had. So this is interesting. The last time he talked to me, I was a pretty adamant, devout Christian. So
Yeah, me as well.
yeah, right. So the change of things.
Life comes at you fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think with the what sparked this conversation, somebody had asked me online about what is truth, and I gave the correspondence theory of truth, and I said truth is that which corresponds to reality. So essentially, a proposition is true if and only if that proposition corresponds to reality. So if I say I'm bald, that proposition is only true if in fact I'm actually bald in reality. And so I think did you objected to that?
Yes. So
Okay.
yeah, my objection is so for me what you're doing is you're setting up a way for you to verify your truth with your perception of reality, because at the end of the day there is no way for us to prove that anything is true without us, you know, filtering that through our own perception, our own understanding, our own psychology, our own experience.
Gotcha.
It's kind of like a Kantian. I'm a constructivist. You know, I don't think
Mhm.
that we build from reality and make our morality from that. I think we build our reality out of our understanding of morality and our understanding of the nature of the world.
Okay.
So
Well, now that's going a little more into epistemology, and I can go there, but before we do, I want to clarify. So I wasn't saying that I could know truth. I was just saying what it is, regardless if I can know it. So when I say that I'm
yeah,
bald, that statement is true if I'm in fact bald. Now, what if I'm just deceived? I actually have hair and I just don't know it or something like that. Then the statement is false. Right.
yeah,
So so whether I know that it's true is an epistemic issue, but the truthfulness of the proposition, that is more ontological.
yeah. Okay, so I can understand that, but what I'm talking about is more so of how you form truth rather than verifying specific truths. Sorry,
Okay.
that's my dog. He travels with me. So, so like if we were, I guess it's kind of how you build and evaluate, like kind of like a math equation. And in my opinion, you're trying to build it from the solution, and you're trying to arrive to the question. And the way that truth operates is that you start from the foundations of something that operates outside of our experience, and from
Okay.
there you can determine what is truth. And there's no verifying it. It's kind of like what you say. There's no hey, this is real, this is not. It is, this is true, and how does that truth impact the way that I interact with what is real, as opposed to me verifying what is real by what is true,
So
or
I would
verifying what is true by what is real.
I would say there are two types of truths. Well, there's more than two types of truths, but there are
I'd say
two
there's only
main.
one.
Okay, well, and this let me explain what I'm saying. You
Okay.
have incidental truths and you have necessary truths, and I think
Okay.
so. Incidental truths is just something that could be the case, but it doesn't have to be the case. A necessary
Yeah.
truth is something that has to be, and so you could form any sort of true dichotomy that wouldn't necessarily
Yeah.
right. If I say
So that
I either am or I am not God, that is necessarily
yeah.
right. So when you say that you could know that without any sort of direct experience.
So yes. So I think there's only one type of truth, and there's necessary truths.
All right.
Kant uses the word a priori to come before, so something that exists
Mhm.
outside of us, and that's why I think the issue with making, reality, as we call it, the verification of what is true and what isn't, is
Mhm.
because truth doesn't. It exists outside of us, before us, outside of our understanding, outside of our. It's something that's a priori.
Well,
So
and you said
what
so.
we're
There's
doing,
only. Okay, I'm sorry.
because like for you to say you're bald
Mhm.
would okay, and this kind of gets where I could see where people think it's me just doing like debating the words and stuff like that, but it's not.
Mhm.
Is you have to understand kind of like what Socrates talks about, the form of what is bald. What is baldness? That's the truth I'm talking about. What, like,
Mhm.
baldness itself? What is the truth of baldness? Okay,
I,
because you
I,
could say you're bald, but you have to have an understanding of what baldness
yeah,
is,
I would say baldness is a
and that's how we build
description.
truth.
So when
Yeah,
you said
but
earlier there's only necessary truths, there aren't incidental truths. Like for instance, like I'm
yeah,
bald, I don't have to be. I would say that's incidental.
you are
There's nothing about
okay.
reality that necessitates me being bald. I'm wearing a black tank top. I don't have to.
Yes, yeah,
But like
but for the statement of so, but to say that you're bald, for
mm-hmm,
me, would be a truth statement.
mm-hmm,
It's either true or it's untrue, right? So it doesn't matter whether you could or couldn't be bald, and that's where, in kind of formal logic, at least in inductive and deductive, you don't something can be valid. That's kind of what we were talking about in the comment section, but
mm-hmm,
be untrue. Something can be valid and true. Something can be invalid and also be true.
mm-hmm.
So for you to say that I am bald is you making a truth statement. You either are bald or you're not. Well, you could be bald in an inductive system, because
Mm-hmm.
you're making a possibility claim. So those are two different claims to me. You aren't claiming
Well,
the two different types of truth. What you call
well,
incidental truth for me is possibility.
yeah,
It's not
yes.
truth.
Well, I would say like an incidental truth is something that is the case, but it doesn't have to be the case. Like for instance, like I'm like my baldness, it isn't a necessity. Like it doesn't. If I were to have
Yeah,
hair,
it's
it
not
wouldn't violate logic or anything like that. I could
exactly.
go to
It's
Turkey
valid
and
to say.
get my hair back. All right, so but that's what sense like. But
I
a
wish.
necessary truth would be that I would have to either be bald or not be bald. There is no other option.
I
So
agree. That's what I
okay,
think
so
truth is.
all right, but all right, but so would you say that what I'm calling an incidental truth, you're saying that isn't truth?
No, because truth exists outside of our experience and understanding of the world. I can.
Well,
So for me to say you are bald,
mhm,
if I'm making a truth claim, is to say you are inherently bald. If this was Spider-Man, this is a Spider-Verse, it's
mhm.
a canon event. You going bald. You know what I mean? It's you're bald. Um,
Okay, so
but for me to say that,
let me
for me to
explain what I
say that
mean.
I look at you and say that you're bald would be that I'm making a claim that, in my perception, from my understanding of what baldness is, you are bald. And that
We
might be valid from my understanding and my processing, but I don't think that's necessarily true.
we may be talking past each other because maybe there's a misunderstanding of what I mean by necessary. Like so when I
Maybe
say when I say a necessary truth, I mean
inherent.
not inherent, but the contrary would violate reason itself. It will. So we have the three
Okay.
logical absolutes: identity, non excluded middle, in contradiction. And so when I say if this fact was not true, it would violate one of those logical absolutes. Like,
Yeah,
all right,
it would
so
be
that's
invalid.
that's what I'm calling a necessary truth. Like, for instance, reality
Yeah.
has to exist. It can't not be a reality. That is a necessary truth. But rabbits exist. That is a incidental truth, because rabbits
But
could
it
not
could also be
exist.
valid that, but you know what could exist is a rabbit that can breathe underwater and have wings. That's
Yes,
also
and
valid.
that
And so
would be, yes, but it would be,
that's
and
why,
that would be an incidental truth. It wouldn't be a
and you
necessary
have
truth.
to verify. So yes, but what I'm saying is you couldn't verify that to make it a necessary truth. You know what? It's either that
Well,
rabbit with the wings and the horn and that can breathe in the water either exists or it doesn't. Your verification of it doesn't apply to the truth of it, but rather to the validity of that statement. And so that's
well,
what I'm talking about. Informal logic is the difference between claiming something is true and
mhm.
creating a valid logical statement.
So when I say necessary
You're
truth,
the difference.
you don't have to verify necessary truth, because it is contingent upon reason. Like, the proposition is structured in such a way
Agreed.
that you know that it has to be true. You need no sort of empirical
That's my point.
verification at all. Okay.
That's my
So
point. But to say that it becomes true when it is consistent with reality. So you're either, if you're talking just if you're talking just on paper,
mhm.
then all you're saying is that if you can prove it in a math equation, then it's consistent with the reality, right? So you're saying if
No.
it's valid, it's true.
Mm-mm. Well, mm-mm.
Okay. So
I'm saying
if it's valid and you can verify it with reality, then it's true.
you'll need to verify it. If it corresponds to reality, it is true. I may not be able to validate it.
But how? But then what's the difference between reality and truth in your framework? That's my contention. Is that
Mhm.
there
So
is a difference between the two, and they're the same thing with what you're saying. From what I understand.
reality is the state of affairs.
Okay.
Truth are propositions that correspond to the state of affairs. So
Okay.
the
So what is the
reality
state
is
of affairs?
just whatever there is. That's just reality.
I think that's a pretty, excuse my language, I think that's a pretty shitty framework for understanding the world.
Well,
Because then you ultimately just end up putting your shoulders up and saying, well, I who knows,
no. So
and then that,
I do it that way because reality is constantly changing. So, like, if you ask me what reality is, I say you're part of it. That truck is, the shirt is, my little girl is over there watching me, the universe, and like what I'm saying is all of
I'm
everything that
sorry.
exists. It doesn't matter if it changes. It can before the Big Bang happened, there wasn't a universe, but there was still a state of affairs. There was something. There was there was something going on.
Or there was nothing and that was a state of an affair. Yeah.
Yes, that would also be the reality. And in that
Yeah.
that nothingness, you could still make truth propositions. You should say that there either are or there are not rabbits. And that would be true about that state of affairs. Since there's nothing, there are no rabbits. That proposition is true. So since it's a true dichotomy,
Okay.
you know that it's true. No empirical verification necessary.
So for me, that's just you're creating, or you're saying 2 + 2 = 4, and so you know what I mean. Or or you're just no. What you're saying is 2 = 2. You know what I mean? For me, like you're saying the same thing in different words. You're proving yourself. So you're creating a situation where truth proves reality and reality proves truth.
Well, no. So I would say that truth is only a description of reality. You could have a reality with no truth, as in there is no description of it. Reality would still be, there don't have to be any propositions in a reality. It could just be, and truth will go away because truth is a property of a proposition.
So let's just say like it was like Marvel Universe and you had like a Watcher type situation and there was nothing. He could still make truth claims such as there's nothing.
Yep.
But he could also say there's something. And so this is where it gets kind of confusing, because I think it was David Sigmund said something of reality is felt, and then someone else said I think therefore I am. So we know something exists. So if you're able to ask the question, or if you're able to have truth, then something has to exist, right? Because if there's an entity thinking upon itself, notifying its existence, creating propositions about that existence, then there must be something. And so I guess this is kind of where the transition goes to, I guess the kind of God, or whatever, creation, or whatever you want to call it, is the idea that I don't think that you can compare truth, or you can equate truth to reality, simply because we are finite. We can't make those kind of claims, or verify those kind of claims
But
in
remember,
reality.
I'm saying
So
it's
there's no
all
way
on.
for us to understand truth.
What I'm saying is all on. Before I'm gonna say this, Robert Stevenson, please explain. What do you mean? He says he doesn't know what he's talking about, Mr. Smarty Pants, and there's a laugh emoji. I don't know who he's talking to,
He
like
posted a
me
link
or
to
Mario.
Facebook, but I'm
Who
not
doesn't know
copying. I'm not
What do you say,
copying.
Facade?
He said he posted a link to something on Facebook, which I'm not copying from the comments to put into my browser, but I assume it
okay.
has something to do with it. I have no idea.
We had a, was it the guy that got snippy with me and I got snippy back in the comments?
I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe
I don't remember.
Maybe I
He's kinda
can
snippy with a few
step in
people.
step in real quick and try
maybe
to
I
help
don't know what I'm
clarify
talking
the
about.
situation.
Mhm.
But so when we're talking correspondence theory of truth, when we say something like, when we're talking about reality, we're talking about all there is in the state of affairs. When we're talking about truth, we're making
All
a
the possibilities.
No. We're talking about all that is, not all that's possible. That is a don't.
Okay.
That is not what I said. So when we're talking
No.
about,
So
when we're
that's
hang
what
on,
I'm saying.
let me continue.
I understand
my thought
what
here.
you're saying. So like, okay.
But when we're talking about truth, we're making a propositional statement about something that can or cannot exist in that reality. So, for instance, in the reality
Yes.
that we're currently sharing, AAA is wearing a black tank top is a truth statement. You could make a truthful statement not knowing or being able to verify it by saying AAA is wearing a black tank top because I don't need to see him to know whether, like, I don't, to, or verify that to know that it's either true or not true. But in this reality,
Yes.
like, we're only making a very, very small proportional claim to compare to all of reality, right? And we're saying that is a truth statement.
So, and I think this is the disconnect. Let's use so-and-so was wearing a black shirt. In formal logic, that would not be a full statement. That is a proposition, or it's a conclusion, because you have to have a chain of if then, or if you're using a inductive system of logic, then it's a bunch of an or an and or whatever you want to do. So what you're saying is, in order to make a true statement, if this, then this, therefore this. So that's how truth works, at least in formal logic, what we're talking about. So for you to take a claim, and then this is where I think the confusion is happening, because I'm talking about how truth claims as a whole and how that reason breaks down, kind of like a math equation and formal logic, and how that interacts with what we perceive as reality. Because there's a difference between truth and validity in formal logic. And what you're saying is a truth, like so and so wears a green shirt, isn't a full formal statement. It is a proposition or a conclusion of that statement. You have to prove that using formal logic, and that's where we get truth. And making that formal logic chain, that equation, consistent with the rules of formal logic, kind of like you would in calculus,
But
is what
you're
creates
skipping
validity.
a step there, Mario.
So what I'm saying
You're
is,
skipping a step.
Yeah.
But you're going further than I have to go.
Like, but what I'm saying is that you have to go that far.
No, you
Because
don't.
what you're trying to
You
say
ready?
is, I can look at that building and say that building is black.
No.
And
You
that is
ready?
a true statement, and it's not a true statement.
No.
That's an observation.
Here's how you do that. You make it a non-contradictive statement. The building is either black or it is not black. Problem solved. You now have a truthful statement that you can undoubtedly
statement.
say that is a truthful statement, because only one of the two possibilities can exist.
That's not true.
Give me an
the
example.
syllogism.
What you're doing is breaking the law of non-contradiction. Give me an example in which a building is either black or not black at the same time in the same state.
When I put a prism right in front of my eye. So
That
you know what I
does
mean? So
not
what are we
change
talking-
the
so this is
reality
what
of
I'm-
the building.
You know,
that changes your
can I jump in here?
perception of the building. Is the building black or is it not black? That is, it
From
is
where
one
I'm
or the
standing,
other.
That building is black, from my perception. And
But
colors are actually
but your
a really
perception is
good
irrelevant to
thing
what
that
is
we can talk about,
actual.
because color in of itself is a perception.
But that's what I'm saying. Your
So for me to
perception
say
is
that
irrelevant to what is
black,
actual.
I am literally filtering it through my own human perception. So what I'm doing is I'm validating truth.
Mario,
using
what
my
you're
human
doing
perception.
is
That's why I think
ignoring
color's
the
a great
you're
example.
ignoring
Thank
the
you for using
question and you're
because
ignoring
I
what
can
I
look
just
at this
said.
building,
I don't care about your
it is neither black
perception.
nor not black.
I don't care about your perception of the building. I'm asking about the reality of the situation. The building must either be
And I'm
black
telling you
or
there's
not
no
black.
Difference.
Mario, let me finish.
No, that's a bad example. It's a color.
No. It's
I know
literally
what
just
you're
the law
saying,
of
though. I understand your
non-contradiction.
So, all right. So, I'm coming here. So,
Color's a bad example for you.
No, it's not.
we have
It's
the three logical
literally like you
absolutes, right?
cannot come up with an example that does not, like every example. I can give you an infinite number of examples. Humans either exist
And
or
none
they
of them
do
will
not
be able to
exist.
operate outside of our perception.
Humans
So,
either
I
exist
verify
or they
that.
do not exist.
Can I jump in here? All right. So we
Yeah,
have.
of course. I mean,
the-
you're creating contradiction. I don't know what the argument is here.
Yeah,
So I'm saying the point is, you
Wait,
said I have
trying
to
to
go
give you-
so far, and I don't have to go that far to get to a truth statement. Because with just the law of excluded middle and
Yes, you do.
non-contradiction, I can state something and know that one of these things are true, because the opposite of that would
But
break
what are
the
you proving?
fundamental logic itself. It would break the three laws of
You're
logic.
you're not making a proof. So,
So-
a proof is a technical term that you have to go through the process, and you have to use that. You have to go through the equation using formal logic.
This-
For you to
this
say
is a
that it's
really
either not or not, of course that's true, but it's not
So-
proving anything.
what he's giving you is a true dichotomy, right? And so
I understand.
so is the proof is there, but it's really short because you don't have to do a lot of work because it's literally in the same form as the second logical
Yes,
absolute.
but it means nothing.
It does mean something. It means that
nothing.
it means that it's true regardless of what the state of affair is, whether you know it, whether you don't know it. It doesn't matter what's going on. There is no reality in which that statement could be false.
But you're not. So, like, but what I'm saying is, you're not saying anything. I'm either right or I'm wrong.
Well, no.
Can we end the debate here?
No, so you would either be
Exactly,
right
'cause I
or
haven't
you would
proven anything.
No. Well, you
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 made
would
a
either be
false
right or you would
dichotomy.
not be right.
Wrong.
You made a false dichotomy.
Yeah, that's a false dichotomy.
You know, substantive or useful to our daily life.
You made a false
That I
dichotomy.
mean, it's true.
Well, in that you made an actual dichotomy. But right or wrong are not false or not true dichotomies of each other.
So
Yeah,
So-
you're right. You're right. I misspoke. Either either what I'm saying is true or is the debate over?
well,
So what you're saying
well,
is either true or it is not true. We can have a discussion to further that, but that statement in and of itself is correct.
We have to prove it.
I mean, no, we don't have to prove it.
Yes,
that is a
technically
proof
right.
in and
You're
of
saying something
itself.
Is
That's
so
what we're
when
saying.
I'm talking, so
that's
when
what
I
I'm
say,
saying. You're proving yourself.
all right, so
I'm
when
not
we talk
proving
about
myself. You're missing the point.
Yeah, God, let me jump in here. So when we say truth,
Yeah, sorry.
do you think truth is epistemic? Do you need knowledge for truth?
Of course.
Okay, so that's where we disagree. I
Yeah.
don't think you need knowledge for truth.
No. So, like, epistemic isn't about knowledge. Epistemology is the study of the foundations of how we form and understand knowledge.
Yes,
It operates a priori. It's
yes,
not,
and
it's
I'm saying you
metaphysical.
can
That's
throw
kind of what I'm talking about.
epistemology.
So you don't need
epistemology.
knowledge.
Yes, so if you notice in my definition, knowledge doesn't come into play at all. Like epistemology is a layer above it. We're still down here. I say truth is
That's my
is
point.
so what I'm saying, but I thought you just said that you need epistemology for truth.
Yeah, so it informs it. So it operates kind of, it's
Uh,
the foundation. It's like a building. If you're building a pyramid, what you're doing
Okay.
is normative morality, normative ethics, correct? So if we're trying to,
Well-
or, something on the normative basis, that's in the middle of the pyramid. What forms that and creates the foundation for those thoughts is the base of the pyramid, which is ontology, and epistemology. Those two
I'm not even getting
every
into
moral
it.
system. Yeah.
And so when we talk about truth, I'm not even getting into epistemology. So like we're still a layer
But you
below.
can't do that. You
And
can't
you,
skip.
but you
can't skip
can't, and
epistemology.
that's so. So remember, so my definition of truth is a proposition that corresponds to reality. So as long as it corresponds to reality, it's true. But hold on. So it doesn't matter.
That's an epistemological statement.
No, it's not. It's an ontological statement. All I'm talking about is what a truth statement is, and so I don't have to know that it's true. If the proposition corresponds to reality, then it's true. Period. Regardless of whether I know it. If I say there is a pyramid on the dark side of the moon. Now I haven't seen it.
I just feel like that's such a useless way to frame the world.
Well,
and our understanding of it.
I'm not trying to frame the entire world with this. I can build from this, and we can talk about how we can know truth, right? And so there are certain, we had gotten to epistemology kind of early on in the show, and I was saying there are certain things that we know have to be true, like necessary truths, based on the way ontology works, based on the way logic works. And so, like Facade had given you a true dichotomy. He said, I think he would say a barn is either black or it is not black. There is no third option. So
color is a really bad example, because that kind of feeds into my point. Using color is a very bad example.
Okay,
because color is not something that exists inherently.
Okay, so let's say
a different example.
Okay,
so maybe don't use the word inherently when trying to define color.
My color is white.
Okay.
My car's white. Yeah.
Okay, your car is either white or it is not white.
I either perceive my car to be white or I don't. Or
I don't care.
It doesn't matter what your perception is.
Don't care what your perception is.
It's not real. It is my perception, though. The color is a bad example, because color is determined by my perception. I can't see. Color doesn't exist unless it goes to my eyes and it's processed.
Okay, so that's actually incorrect, and I can prove it to you.
But Mario, so if the color doesn't exist without you, then you could say the car is not white, which makes the proposition true.
The car is not white. White doesn't exist. There's a difference. And that's what I'm saying.
If it's not,
what you're doing is you're verifying truth through your understanding.
But let me
jump in and try to make it easier.
Okay.
The Loch Ness monster either exists or it does not exist. Okay.
Yeah, I had this argument with, in freshman, logic, freshman year of college. I mean, this is a pretty
great. You can apply the same logic if you truly believe color doesn't exist to the Loch Ness monster, because if you don't believe the Loch Ness monster exists, you have the same dichotomy. It's weird that you're just ignoring this. If you think color is strict, hang on, let me finish. If you think that color is strictly a perception and color doesn't exist, then it's true that your car is not white.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. How is it a fallacy?
It doesn't because if white is only real to so is reality perception. You're saying those are two different things, correct?
I'm saying reality and your perception are unreal. Well, not necessarily unreal, but yes, no. Reality and perception are different things.
Then color doesn't exist. I don't see color. No, I'm kidding. I'm not saying that. But but then it doesn't exist. So let's use a different example. Loch Ness monster is a good one. It's a traditional one that they use in all the textbooks and whatnot.
Yeah, that's why I used it.
Yeah. So like, I've never seen the Loch Ness monster. And
that doesn't change whether it exists or not.
That's a black swan fallacy. But
I agree.
Regardless of whether you've seen it.
That's my point. I'm not saying it's not whether I've seen it, but I'm saying in order for me to verify whether it's true, I would have to see it.
No, that's incorrect. Like, you may have a very niche thing, but you've never seen the wind, right?
Yeah, well,
but you can verify its existence, right? You see what I'm saying?
And we can't see the wind. We have diagrams. We can track it. That's
okay, you can see color. You can track it. You can base number, like give it a numerical value.
No, but you understand. Now you're arguing with yourself, because I don't believe that. What I'm saying is, for you to say that reality is that you have to, what is true is what is real. If it's not on paper, I understand on paper. Yeah, you're right. I think it's the most useless statement and a completely just a terrible framework for understanding truth. But let's take it off paper. Outside of these, 2 = 2 equations you're trying to tell me are the truth. if I am going to verify truth or reality, anywhere that's not on paper and in any way that's useful, your understanding of morality would require me to go see it. I know Russia exists, even though I've never
You said
been there.
morality.
I understand that. Well, truth and morality is based around truth. So let's talk about truth. I misspoke.
Okay.
But I'm saying that you can't connect truth reality. I'm saying they're inherently separate. I understand your argument. I agree. You're probably right that
So yeah,
you know, saying that is either true or
I
is not true
agree.
is a true statement. Yes, but
So-
it's useless.
So I agree that truth and reality are different things.
They're
So
separate, and you can't
Yes,
connect them.
because truth is just it's a property of propositions. It's not a property of reality. Like I'm not
Agreed.
true, right? There are propositions that about me that can be true, but I am not
Exactly.
true. That's okay.
Agreed.
All right. So all right. But now there are certain propositions about reality that cannot be false. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, they're
Okay.
called
And so
tautologies.
well, they don't
And
necessarily
self-proven.
well, no, they don't necessarily have to be tautologies. They could be
Or they
like
follow the rules in equation,
well,
like I was talking about.
yeah. So if it's a true dichotomy, that has to be true. So
Yeah, but
if,
what I'm saying is it's not useful to say that. What does that do? What does it do for me to say something is either true or untrue? And then what does that show me about the world? What does that reveal to me
I
about
would-
truth? Nothing. Because you're not
well,
saying anything.
well, I was just
You're
explaining.
not saying anything.
No, what I'm saying. So you had to ask like what did I believe truth was, and I was telling you what that is. It's just a correspondence theory. So that's the answer. Like truth is that which corresponds to a state of affairs. Now,
Why?
well, that's how I define it. It's analytic.
But why? How does that? How do you
So,
arrive to that?
well,
That's my question.
yeah. I mean, it's analytic. So I mean, it's the analytic proposition. Like when I say the word truth, this is what I mean. So, like,
How do you get to it? Oh, so you're defining it. That is a definition.
Yes, and that's what people mean most of the time. Like I asked my daughter, did she clean her room?
Yeah.
I want to know in reality, is her room clean?
But I just don't
That's
think
what I
that
want
was
to
the
know.
question
I
he was
don't.
at. When someone asks what is truth,
Mm-hmm.
I mean we're talking philosophy. We're not talking, hey, is it true? Did you get a B on your report card? Yes. That's not
Well,
that's
yes.
being honest.
So that's a correspondence theory, but it has some problems, right? So for instance, how about this? Like, what is Spider-Man's real name?
Well, it depends. There's a bunch of them now. Peter Parker.
Peter, right? And so like that in the correspondence theory, that proposition would actually be false because Spider-Man does not exist. Peter Parker does not exist. So there's other models as well called the coherent, like for instance, the coherent theory, which uses a framework. So you could say within the framework of the Marvel universe, right? Spider-Man is Peter Parker. And we know some more problems. For instance, like what is 1 + 1? It's 2, right?
Yes.
So in a correspondence
saying
theory, that wouldn't work as either because 1 doesn't exist, 2 doesn't exist. There are things that exist that can be described with 1. There are things that exist that can be described with 2. So we're using a coherence theory when we're talking about using math or like a lot of high level, conceptual thinking.
So
but
it's
generally,
a methodology of arriving at truth that's separate than the one that I'm using. Because for me, you're not, but you can't prove any of those statements. And that's how you arrive to truth.
Well,
I think that's the distinction between our systems of thought.
There are certain things.
And when I say
that, well, so the thing about the true dichotomy that Facade had gave you, that has to be true because it's based on reason. If what Facade said was false, then reason is now thrown out the window.
But here's the thing: is you don't know.
Use logic
because all he's made is a proposition. He hasn't proved it.
Well, no,
you know what I mean. So
you'd be ignoring the second fundamental law of logic to throw my proposition out. That's what you'd have to do. You'd essentially throw logic away in order to get around my proposition.
I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just what I'm saying is that you're taking one rule in the in the rule book, and you're making it true, as like if it's the whole system. That
No,
that
I'm
isn't
using
designed
the
to
three
be
laws
something
of
that you're going
logic.
to take and apply to everything. That is a rule on how you operate within. It's like this is the way that you do long division. That's what that is. That's what that is used for in formal logic. It's a rule that you use to make these equations. It's not something that you're going to evaluate truth through. So what you're talking about is a methodology of evaluating truth. It is not establishing truth. You have to prove something on paper using formal logic in order for it to be true.
But here's the thing. So this is what he did. So just think, like just think how.
I get what he.
So if the law of excluded middle, like how does it look in its logical form? It's A with the conjunction symbol.
Yes.
Minus A, right? A or non-A.
That doesn't say anything.
So
that's 2 equals 2. That's all you're saying.
No, it's not 2 equals 2. This is this description of reality. So what he's doing is, so A is just a placeholder. What he's done was replace A with a thing that exists in reality. So when he said your car, he says your car is either white or is not white. It is the same structure.
It's
of the
the way you write that is A, and then you do your symbol,
the conjunction symbol,
your or symbol,
the little
and then
thing.
you do minus A. That's all he's saying. A true, and in formal logic, a true statement, a statement is including a proposition and a conclusion, would say something along the if A or not A, then that's a truth statement.
No,
you're leaving out the conclusion or the proposition. You're only saying half the statement.
He's not building a syllogism. No, he's not building a syllogism here. He's giving you a proposition and showing you that it has to be true because it's based. Untrue. No, it has to be true. So he took a state. He took two statements. So two statements that logic.
Hang on.
But think about it. He took just two propositions that logically negate each other, and then he combined them into one with a conjunction.
Murph, this is not an issue of misunderstanding. I understand exactly. You don't need to keep explaining it. I'm saying
no. You are. You're missing something, and I can point it out. You think that there are these You think that what I'm saying is true. Is that either your car is white or it is not white? That's not what I'm saying.
Throw the color away. It's not an example. You're saying.
Hang on. Okay, then fine. Let's go back to the Loch Ness Monster. Hold up. Let's go back to the Loch Ness Monster, just to make it easy for you. What you think I'm saying, Mario?
To make it easy for me, I just disagree with you. It's not an issue.
Let me finish the statement because you're clearly missing something.
Do you think the logical absolute? Do you think the law of excluded middle?
I don't think you're wrong.
Let me finish the statement for the love of God.
And it's just the principle of logic. Well, you're saying the same thing over and over again, just trying to explain things that I understand.
No. You're missing a statement, dude. Let me explain it to you, and I promise it will make sense.
I know it makes sense. What you're not understanding is
okay. Hang on. Then do me a favor. Tell me what is the truth statement that I made.
I've said it repeatedly. All you're saying is A or not A. That's all you're saying.
Tell me the truth statement that I made.
Or it is. That's all you're saying. And of course that's true. It's probably the most useless thing in a practical way in understanding morality and truth.
No, we're not talking about morality here. Because we're talking about truth. How is it useless?
Because it's only part of the equation. It's only part of the system. You're not proving anything substantial or significant. All you're saying is something is or it isn't.
No,
when I was 9 months old and someone took something out in front of my face and I thought it was gone, I still knew that. It's a part of a moral system that is useless.
You keep talking about a moral system. You're
not talking about morality.
You're really tripping on your words here,
informed by truth. That's what we're at. I mean, morality is informed by truth. That's why I always say it. So when I say morality on accident, just understand I'm trying to say truth.
Gotcha. All right. So when I brought up the law of excluded middle, you had said that when I talked about truth, which is a statement that corresponds to reality, you talked about the problem of being able to verify that. Like how we have to, it has to go through our perception and our brain have to interpret things and it could be wrong and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, yes, I'm a fallibilist. So if I'm basing a truth statement off of an empirical verification, then I can't arrive to absolute truth that way. But if a statement is structured in a way where the falsification would violate reason, then I can say that's truth, because I'm not basing it on my perception. I'm not basing it on my analytical skills. It's literally contingent on reason itself.
I understand that, but what you're describing isn't truthfulness; it's validity. There's a difference. If something operates within the correct, and that's why I'm saying you're not proving anything.
No. It's not validity. No, I'm not describing.
In formal logic, there's a difference between validity and truth. You're creating a valid statement.
So,
of course, it makes sense. It's got the rules, but it doesn't say anything. It doesn't prove anything.
All right, so
and that's why I don't think
I'm not talking about validity. I'm not. So something can be valid and not true. Something can be valid and not true.
Yes, agreed. That's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying, and what the thing that I'm saying, is not about validity. It's about truth. It's a proposition that cannot be wrong.
But it's a proposition that has no proof, so it can't be truth, because truth is evaluated in the conclusion.
So
you have to have the if so then, that you have to have the then part in order to in formal logic. I'm not making this up. These are the rules.
What would you? Okay, tell me. All right, so
you know
so you said it needs proof. What would you use to work the proof out?
A logical proof, not like in a lab.
I know what you're talking about.
It has to be formatted in an if-then statement.
I'm following, but I'm saying you would use logic to work the proof, right?
Formal logic, yeah, deductive or inductive reasoning. They even have hypothetical, and they
now at its base form, when we talk about what logic is, what are the three logical absolutes that they're all based on?
No. So I understand what you're saying. Like you can't have contradictions.
Please answer my question here. Please answer my. I'm trying to work our way back. You're saying you would use. You're saying like the proposition isn't true because it doesn't have proof, right? Now, how would you? Now, how would you work this proof? You would use logic, right?
Yeah, I'll probably use inductive because it's the only way you can evaluate truth. You can't use inductive. You got it. Oh, sorry.
You can evaluate truth inductively, but what I'm saying is,
you can evaluate possibility inductively.
No, you can evaluate truth inductively. You sure can.
I'm not making this up.
I know you don't know. It doesn't matter if it's in a textbook. If every scientist in the world would disagree with you, it's called fallibilism. I can validate something in the absence of absolute. No, I don't need
truth
to be.
Truth is infallible, and that's I think what the difference is.
No, truth isn't.
Because we're not talking about science. We're talking about formal logic.
Hold on. Okay, so all right. So when we talk about validating a truth claim, right? So you can do it inductively if you're a fallibilist. For instance, I believe that I'm talking to you. That's based off induction. I see you, I hear you, and you're responding to me, right? So
is it based on your perception or not? Because inductive reason is inherently based in perception.
Induction, yeah. So that was induction. So what Fasad had said earlier was deductive, because you don't need a perception,
which is what I think is the only way to evaluate truth. Agreed.
Okay, so
I think we're arguing in circles.
Do you think you wouldn't say that it's true that you're talking to me?
I would say it's true that I am experiencing me talking to you, and that's why. And when you ask me if I'm still a Christian, that's why I say I don't know. Because it's not something I can't prove it. I can believe it. I can perceive it.
Are you a solipsist?
I can understand it.
Are you a solipsist?
Are you a solipsist?
What does that mean?
Like, do you believe that
I've heard that word.
Do you believe that your mind is the only thing that actually exists, and everything else is just?
No, I believe it's the only thing I can actually prove. Using experience, it's the only thing I can prove is real.
But you wouldn't be able to prove that. But if we're throwing experience,
I think therefore I am. That's a pretty good proof.
Yeah, but you know what that's contingent on? It's contingent upon reason. Because there's no way you can think and not exist. So if we're validating,
reason comes before.
if we're presupposing reason, then let's use the logical absolutes of reason, which is what grounds reason.
I agree.
So let's go back
I'm
to
not
that true
disagreeing with reason.
dichotomy.
It's true. I agree with you.
Okay,
But I don't think you're saying anything.
No,
You're not proving anything.
So when
you're not making a true statement.
So Mario,
that's
you
real and applicable.
Mario, you had went to the Cogito. Now, why can't you not exist? Why can't you be wrong about existing?
Because I can understand my own existence. I can perceive and I can think.
That's not why. So the way that the thought experiment worked is because thinking you existing and being wrong would be a contradiction. It would violate a logical absolute. Because if in order to be wrong, you have to be. So it's not based on an empirical experience. It's not. This is not an inductive argument. It is deductive.
Yeah.
It's using logic itself.
I'm not disagreeing with logic. I'm not.
All right. So
I'm saying you're using it wrong.
No. So the Cogito is based off the law of non-contradiction, one of the logical absolutes. I'm just using another one. When the excluded middle, when we say your car is either white or it is not white, it's the same. It's just another one, and it's another way of seeing the same thing. So all right. So we can know that for certain. You don't need empirical verification, right?
Yes.
All right. So there you have. So that's a true statement.
I don't disagree with that. What I'm saying is that you're not making a truth claim that is in any way useful or in any way productive.
It is. So you talked about the Cogito. No. So but Marius, you had talked about the Cogito.
All you're doing, you're describing addition, you're describing division, you're not saying anything.
But no. So it's not just useful, it's essential. Because the logical absolutes that I'm talking about, it is the foundation for other thought experience you use.
Agreed.
The Cogito ergo sum, that is based on the logical absolutes. If they're wrong, that experiment is invalid.
I agree. I'm not saying you're wrong in that. I'm not debating against. What I'm saying is you're not going far enough. In order for you to say something is true, you have to prove it, and you have to. It's an if-then statement in deductive reasoning. If A and B, or if A or B, then C, therefore.
Okay.
C.
All right. So
you know what I mean. You have to prove it. And what you're doing, let me finish, is like saying 2 + 2 = 4. Cool, I get it. It's true, but you can't say that is truth, and that is the way you form truth. The way you form truth, at least in formal logic, is in deductive reasoning, because it's the only form of form of logic that actually deals with truth. Truth is in the conclusion, right? So you can
Mario,
say
hang on,
A not B, therefore A or not B. So you're just saying the same thing twice. You're proving yourself.
Pause. Hold up. Let me jump in.
Okay,
let me jump in. So it seems that there are some obvious, like some talking past each other here. And I think that's why it's very important to understand that defining truth as that which corresponds to reality, aka the correspondence theory, is an analytical proposition. And if you're not sure what that is, we can talk about it. But it seems that we're having some communication issues, because what you're saying is, well, we're able to use logic to get truthful statements, but that's not truth itself. The only way to get truth itself is to do this formal logical setup and then come to truth. But what you're doing is coming to a truthful proposition. You're not coming to truth itself.
No.
Yes, that is a truthful statement if anyone's ever been made. You're not coming
then how
to
do we
truth.
arrive at truth itself?
Well, that's what we're saying. Truth is defined as that which corresponds to reality. So if we make that analytical proposition,
and how do you arrive at that? How do you prove reality? Through
yeah. So I mean, like the three laws of logic. We know reality exists because it's a state of affairs.
Agreed.
We can know things like we can take that which is the first law. We can take But
you understand how you're going in a circle.
Hang on, let me keep going. You use the 3 laws. So that which is, and then the excluded middle, which says something is or it is not. It cannot be both. And then the law of non-contradiction, So otherwise would be contrary. So you can use like the cogito for the law of non-contradiction. You can use a exact dichotomy to do the law of excluded middle, and all that is reality, the first one. So we can use those to just build upon each other, and therefore that which corresponds to reality, the correspondence theory, is true. Because truth is a proposition.
Circular region.
No, truth is a proposition about things in reality.
How do you form that proposition?
Using the three
analytic
laws of logic.
So it's analytic. He's making an analytic proposition. That's what that is.
Okay, it's using reason, correct? So you use the laws of reason to create this truth. Okay.
Well,
cool.
Not
so now
exactly.
We look at what reality is. How do we evaluate whether reality aligns with reason? Through the same laws that we created truth through? You're proving yourself.
No. There's a number of ways.
It's a self-proof.
It's not. So but there's a number of ways you can do that. And on top of that, like there are different tools within logic that you can use to validate each other. But you can sounds like what you're doing is calling it all logic and then saying it's circular. And that's not
formal logic.
But it's like
okay,
so
you
remember, so let's like you do division, right, to solve a problem, right? And now you
so that's what I was about to say.
But now you remember how you can check your division, right? You do a multiplication.
Murph, you gotta stop explaining things to me. I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is you're describing the grammar and how you form these. You're not describing the truth. Truth is evaluated in formal reason through the system you're using in conclusions. There has to be an if then therefore statement. It has to have so what you're saying is 2 + 2 and you're calling it truth. Yeah, of course 2 + 2
you don't
4.
need it.
It's going to equal it every time.
I exist.
At the beginning of this, you said you valued a priori knowledge. 2 + 2 is a priori. That requires no induction or
2
proof.
2 = 4 is a priori. That is the equation you need to be using. What you're describing right now is just what is it called in math? The punctuation. What are the pluses and the minus signs? That's what you're describing. You're describing the rules on how you use those and how you evaluate this.
What you're missing is we're talking about the entire equation. We're not talking about 2 + 2 = 4. We're talking about the equation itself.
And logical, yes, but what I'm saying is you're not completing the equation. You got to complete the equation in order to have truth. It's got to be a if then therefore. That's how deductive reasoning works.
If the second primary law of logic is sound and cannot be falsified, therefore, then making a dichotomy, a true dichotomy, will equal truth statements.
Of course it's true, but you haven't proven anything. That's what I'm saying. Of course it is true to say something is or isn't. Of course it is. That's got to be true. What have you proven? Absolutely nothing.
Okay, give me an example of truth and give me an example. Give me an example of a proof of truth.
You've proven that you've created a valid. This is a rule that creates validity within the punctuation of formal logic equations.
This isn't about validity.
You're just describing
Mario.
It is though. You're wrong. That's where you're. Mark, I'm telling you, you're wrong.
Give me your definition of truth, and then give me a definition.
I'm not making this up. This isn't something to argue. This is in the textbook.
You don't have to keep saying I'm not making this up. I don't care if you are making it. It doesn't matter. But Mario,
validity is when an argument follows a certain structure. I'm talking about.
And you were describing the rules that make that structure. You weren't describing how you arrived at
Mario, let's do this. Let's do this. Right. Define truth. Give me an example of truth, and then give me a proof statement about truth. Because you said all three of these things are required. So please do so.
When did I say that?
2 seconds ago.
All you need is a proposition and a conclusion, and the conclusion's got to be right.
And you said a proof is the only way to make that happen.
That's the only way you can evaluate truth in formal logic.
Okay, so do that for me now.
That is not something I'm making up.
Do that for me now.
That's the rules.
Just for clarification here, are you saying that a proposition has to follow a formal syllogism in order for it to be true?
That's what formal logic is.
Okay.
Well, of course it can be true. No, sorry. Let me get that wrong. I didn't
Alright.
let you finish, and that's why I spoke incorrectly. What I'm saying, in order for you to create a truth claim and prove it, it has to be. You can say
Can we
something
go
is
back?
true
Can
or
we go
isn't
back
true,
to my question?
but you aren't
then?
proving anything.
Can we go back to my
You haven't
question?
said anything.
Okay, I'm ready for your definition, and I want your proof behind it.
Okay.
You can
If
give the most
Tommy
simple
is,
example.
If Tommy
I don't
is a
care.
boy, then I know someone has to do that. Let me try to think. There's very few true statements, but pretty much the way that you say it is, if A, then B, B therefore, I'm sorry, A therefore B. If A then B, B therefore. So that's a contradiction. Sorry.
Yeah.
If A then B, A therefore B. That's a truth claim. That's something you can call truth.
Can you
But
give
saying
me an
not A,
example of that?
Or A is not.
Can you
may
give
be
me an
saying something
example
true
of that?
or valid, but you're not proving anything. There's no conclusion. There can't be a truth claim there.
Okay, that's fine.
You
Can you
just
give me an
created a valid
example of that?
And these are the rules. This is formal logic.
That's fine.
So for
Give
you to
me
say that
Mario. Give me an example.
I don't have to. I just gave you the example.
No, you didn't.
If
You
A-
gave me the structure.
If A,
Give
that's
me
the
an
You
example.
can plug in what you want.
Give me an example, Mario.
Why?
Because I need you to give me an example because I'm an idiot and I don't know what the hell
No.
I'm talking about.
Well, then read up on it, man. You're sitting here debating me, telling me I'm wrong.
I'm not
right.
telling
If
you
it's
you're
in the
wrong.
textbook,
I'm
not
asking
making
you
it
for
up.
an example. Give me an example.
I just gave you one.
No, you
If
didn't.
A,
You gave me a
then B,
structure.
B, A,
Give me an
therefore B.
example.
That's your example. You can plug and play. This is exactly what Murph told me.
Okay.
You can put whatever you
Okay.
want.
Give me your exact
No, what you're
wording, and
trying to do is
I'm
just
gonna make up
explain
words to
something
put
so that
there.
You can argue against it instead of arguing my point. Argue my point. Stay on topic. You're wrong. What you're
Okay,
describing is a
then,
valid
then
statement,
give
not
me
a
your
true
exact
claim.
words, and I'm
It
gonna
does
put
not
words
complete
in the
formal
place of
logic.
it. And you tell me if it's true.
No, I'm not giving you nothing. I'm not
Okay,
giving you nothing. I
then
just
get
told
the
you
hell
something.
off the
If
show.
A, then B, A, therefore B.
All right, guys. So
If
so-
A, then B.
That's a truth claim. And
If A,
in order
then
for you to
B,
evaluate your
then
reason,
what?
Your reason, deductive reason, which you were talking about,
So-
that's the
Hey,
only
hang
way
on,
to
you said
evaluate
would
if
you-
A,
that-
then
that
B.
sounds like
Then what?
That-
I didn't hear what you said.
If A, then B, then what?
B?
What comes after
Oh,
that?
if A, then B, A, therefore B. That's a
A,
truth claim.
therefore B. So, if
And you write it A,
if grass is
line,
green, then grass is green.
No. So what? So this is you. So this you're arguing against yourself right now.
No,
You
no,
just
no.
made a
I'm
statement. You
using
didn't make an
your
argument.
exact
You didn't
your
make a
exact
syllogism.
structure. You just gave it to me.
If grass is green,
Yeah. If grass is green,
if grass is green and grows in this lot.
no,
and
no,
there
that's
is
another
a green
proposition.
piece
That's
of-
if A and B and C.
I'm sorry.
That's if A and B and C.
No, that's yeah. If A and B, then C.
No, that's
mean,
if
it's all the
A
same
and
thing.
B and
So,
C.
so this is why I didn't want to. This is why I didn't want to give you an example because
Because
you're
you don't
trying
have
you're trying
one.
to pull me in the weeds. Argue the point.
I'm
You know,
making a
this is-
point here. You
No, you're
literally
not.
can't even give me an example of truth in your own dichotomy. Like you can't do
Because
it.
I'm not gonna sit because I'm sitting in a car. I'm not gonna sit down and write an equation. And
I'm
not gonna,
asking you
know,
for the equation, and I'm giving you a classic
but
example.
I don't need to give you an
If
example.
grass
I need to give you an
is
example
green,
that can be
A,
verified by
B.
perception, then you don't. I just don't understand. I don't think you understand what you're arguing. I think you opened the first chapter of the
A-
textbook, read it, and
A,
called that true.
if A, then B. If grass is green, then grass is therefore green. That is the exact
No.
structure that you just gave
No, it
me.
isn't.
Yes, it is.
that is
I
if A,
wrote
then A.
down your
You're saying the
words,
same thing.
Mario.
That's my
I
argument. with
wrote
what you're
down
saying.
your words.
No, no, it's not. A
Dude,
and B are
it's
two
on
separate things.
video. We can go back and watch it. Those are your exact words. So either
back
correct
and
your
watch it.
structure or give me an example
You're
yourself.
arguing an example that I didn't make. I mean, I couldn't make a bigger straw man right now, Murph. What's going on?
Yo, Mario, what the
I
hell,
wanna give you an
bruh?
example.
Yeah,
Are you
all right.
kidding me, dude? You said insert whatever
You're
words I
arguing an example I
wanted.
didn't make.
All right,
You
ho-
said insert whatever I wanted because you refused to give me an example. Are you kidding me right now?
I gave
Are you
an
kidding
example.
me?
We're debating reasons.
I
That's
asked
the-
you
that's
for
the-
a
we're
fucking
debating the
example
law.
and
That's
you
the
didn't
rules.
give
Alright.
one. You said put whatever I wanted in the words. I wrote down your exact structure and I said if A,
A, then
if
B,
grass is B, is green, then A A, grass, therefore green. That's your exact structure. Those are the words you said.
So can I jump in here? You said if A,
I'm done.
then B.
I'm done with this conversation because he refuses
A,
to
then
even
B,
have an
A,
intelligent
therefore-
conversation about it.
therefore-
He
so
refuses
you
to
can be
give an
done.
example about
Guys,
it, and then I wrote down his exact
hold on.
words, and he sits
Hey,
here and
all right.
calls me a liar.
Guys, all right, hold on. Let me try to salvage the conversation. All right. So
I
you
didn't,
said,
I didn't say that.
all right, you said if A, then B. Right?
If A then B, A therefore B. That's
Okay.
deductive reasoning, and you can break it down in a million
Yeah,
different ways.
yeah,
and make it
sure.
more
And
complex,
are
yeah.
you saying that is a form of
That's
deduction? That's one form of deduction, right?
That's
It
how you
isn't.
proof. It's called a proof. It's how you
Yes,
prove the
yes,
truth of a
because
statement.
proofs only happen in deduction. All right.
Yeah.
So all right, okay. Now, are you saying that nothing can be true unless you have proof?
You can't. So what I'm saying is that in your understanding,
Mhm.
you've attached to a piece of this equation, but in order for you to verify truth, it's not through reality. You have to prove it.
But okay, no, I'm not talking about verification right now. I'm just talking about truth, period.
Yeah.
Are you saying you can't have truth unless you verify it?
No, I'm saying it's not a useful truth. It's not a truth that says anything significant. For me to say
Well-
something is or isn't, yes, obviously it's true. I agree with that,
So,
and I'm not disagreeing with that.
No,
But
it's
it
a
isn't-
foundation. So it's like saying an inch
It's a rule.
an inch isn't useful. No, you use the inch to build cities. It's like it's a base. It's a say it again.
It's syntax. It's a rule. It's not a. It's how
Well,
you. It's how you.
So, all right. So when we this is so when we can break down the logical absolutes, right? I forget was it Plato? I'm pretty sure it was Aristotle who got down the logical absolutes, right?
Yeah.
So
The forms are.
you're familiar with the experiment, the mental experiments that he was doing to get there.
Aristotle, I haven't read too much into. I
All right, so what he was doing,
jumped to the 1500s.
All right, so what he was doing, he was just stripping the stuff down as far as he can get them. He was being not forms. That's Plato, right? Plato believed in some extra world of form. So what he was trying to do, he was looking at what could be doubted, and he removed it as much as possible, and then he got to a point where he got these three logical absolutes that denying them would be self-refuting. For instance, you couldn't refute the law of identity, because if you refuted the law of identity, then what did you refute? Right? Because you're using the law of identity to describe what was refuted. Right? If you say non-contradiction is wrong, well, then since contradictions can now happen, now it's true. Right? So negating them is self-refuting. You can't go any further. So you have to presuppose, right? And now he got to these three basic laws of what you're able to, of what you have to presuppose. It was identity, excluded middle, non-contradiction. And from those we build on logic. For instance, for example, you talked about the cogito ergo sum. That is based on the assumption of those logical absolutes. If you throw out contradiction, if you throw out the law of non-contradiction, then your experiment doesn't work.
I'm not throwing it out.
What I'm showing, I'm not saying that you're throwing it out. What I'm trying to explain is that this thing is not just useful, it is essential. So
it's a rule.
It's a rule.
So my point is,
sure.
It is essential and necessary.
We could call it a rule, but it's not. It's not like it can be violated. From what we can tell, this can't be violated.
Agreed. That's why it's there. I mean, because reason, the whole point of reason is it's got to match. You know, one side of the equation has to match the other one. It's got to flow naturally. It's got to be valid. I understand that. What I'm saying is, you're taking like the rules of division. This is my example, and you're saying that this is what we evaluate truth. It's not. It's just the methodology we use when we're evaluating truth. For you to say that something is or isn't, of course that is true. Of course it is necessary, but you're not making a proof. And proof and truth, sorry, is evaluated in formal logic
So,
in the conclusions of a
but here's the
statement.
thing. So
You need a syllogism.
no,
You need to have that.
Yeah, you want the syllogism, but here's the thing: the syllogism, the premises that you would have to use in your syllogism are going to have to assume the logical
Agreed.
absolutes.
Yes,
All right,
and I don't disagree with that.
Okay, so we're not going to be able to use a proof for excluded middle because that would be circular. Because it would have the premises
the
would
answer,
have
you
to
will.
assume it. Say it again.
To get the answer, because that's what I'm saying. It's just a rule to get the answer of whether or not this is or isn't. If you want to arrive to that truth, you're gonna have to use a syllogism. So that's what I'm saying.
No, you don't. What you try to do is try to refute it, and you realize you can't.
Because you're not saying anything. That's the
No,
point.
you are
what you're doing
saying
is you're creating an
you're
argument
making.
that you can't lose, but you're not saying.
It's not an argument. I can't. What I'm saying is the proposition. You're making a true statement, and try your best to invalidate it. Give me a way in which your car. Give me a way in which your car can neither be white nor not white.
Well, I'll be difficult. It can't. Okay, I understand that.
Right.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
All right. So
I'm saying in that aspect, what I'm saying is that the way that you evaluate truth, you took one Lego and you said this is the building. That's just a block. You need to in order for you to prove truth, which that's how truth is created I mean this is a very textbook
but
argument.
that's what I asked earlier. You said once you
at least a proof that can be used.
No, hold on. You said once you prove it, and that is how truth is created. So now I'm gonna ask you again the same question I asked a few minutes ago. Are you saying that something cannot be true unless it is proven? Because earlier you had said no. Now it sounds like you're
unless
saying
it can be proven.
All right, so you said so something is not true.
I mean, in a proof.
Are you all right? So unless
in a proof, in an equation.
So unless you do that in a formal syllogism, you're saying it's not true.
You can't verify it to be true.
But that's not what I'm asking. That's not what I'm asking. Are you saying that it isn't true unless it's verified?
No. But no. So obviously, what you're saying is true. Obviously, saying something is or isn't, saying something isn't true or isn't true, is a true statement. What I'm saying is not proving anything. And what you're talking about, this whole discussion, is about what is truth. You're verifying truth through, something that is or isn't. That's not. Of course, reality is consistent of things
not
that
verifying
are.
It. So I'm not. That's epistemology. Remember, truth is entirely ontological.
Reason is epistemological, and no, it is not entirely ontological. That's a false claim.
I didn't say reason. I said no. I didn't say reason. I said truth is ontological.
I think it's ontological and epistemological. I don't think that.
Okay, so you saying, are you saying okay? All right. So now you said it's epistemological and ontological. So without epistemology, you don't have truth. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that by nature, truth is epistemological. Epistemology is just a description of the way that we form truth.
Required for truth.
Yeah. Of knowledge, sorry.
Is knowledge required for truth? Please just answer yes.
Not in a psychological sense.
No, psychological.
Because you're trying to trap me right now. Not in a psychological sense.
Okay, no, I'm asking.
In an epistemological sense, yes.
What do you mean knowledge is required in an epistemological sense? What does that mean?
Because formal logic is epistemological. I mean, I'm not trying to say that our understanding and our knowledge.
I'm not talking about logic. Yeah. I'm talking about truth.
Formal logic.
Forget formal logic.
How do we arrive at truth?
Okay. How do we arrive at truth? I'm just trying to ask a question. I'm trying to ask a question here.
But you're asking leading questions to try to trap me. But what I'm asking you is how do we evaluate truth?
I'm trying to understand here. You said truth is epistemological and ontological. All right.
Yeah,
so what I'm asking
is, to make a truth claim is to make a statement about our being, and in order to make a truth claim, it's epistemology.
It's a really simple question. Is knowledge required? Okay. Is reality required for truth?
No, truth operates outside of reality, and knowledge
Okay,
is
then
required
we have
to
fundamental
evaluate truth.
different definitions, because if you don't have a
No, we
reality, then
don't,
you don't have
because
truth.
no, Murph. Of course, I disagree with your definition of truth, because you're saying that you whatever is inconsistent with reality is true, and you're using this, and we're going in circles here. So like we gotta find a way to get to the middle, or
That's
not.
what I was trying to do,
Um,
but you didn't answer my question. Because
no, because
you had said that knowledge wasn't required. Then
not
truth
knowledge
has
not
nothing to do
knowledge
with
like
us.
our knowledge of it. When I say
All right,
knowledge,
so
so and that's why I think
let's say there's
but
in
knowledge
on
like
the
epistemological knowledge, yes, it
in
is
the in a
required for
remote
the evaluation of.
in a remote galaxy far away from here, a
But
moon,
none of us are here. Yeah.
yeah, a moon exists. We don't know about it, but it is true
Then
that
that kind of knowledge,
I didn't say
yes.
knowledge. I'm just talking about truth. It is true that that moon exists, right?
Yes.
Despite us
Of
not
course.
knowing about it.
Yes. And so that's why
Okay,
when
so
you say knowledge,
what
I'm
I'm
not
saying is,
talking about
hold
understanding.
on, Mario, hold on. So if you agree to
This is why I
that,
don't want to answer y'all's question.
but
You're
if you
you're
agree
about
to
to
that,
argue against something I'm not saying.
okay,
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
what I'm trying to do is figure out why you think epistemology is required for truth. Because when I push you, every time you throw it out the window. You say, "Oh, knowledge isn't necessary."
No, because what you're talking about is understanding, human understanding.
I'm not talking
What
about
I'm talking
understanding.
about epistemology.
I'm
Okay,
talking
so
about
our
truth.
knowing of something is not a discussion. When we talk about epistemology is our understanding
Something
and evaluation of how morality, of how truth and knowledge are formed, right? So these are the ways in which we form and evaluate truth and
something
knowledge. They're not.
something
It's not our understanding of it.
can
It's not us
something be
studying
true?
knowledge.
Can something be true even if no one knows it?
Of course, but you're
We're
missing
all
my
right. So
point. I'm not
cool.
talking about human
So now
understanding.
we have all right. But Mario, so that is that is it. That means it is entirely ontological. No knowledge,
No,
nowhere
you
in
don't.
it, no one knows it,
You're missing.
and it's
You're off
true.
the mark about what epistemology is. It's not
Uh,
about our. You're talking about understanding, not
Epistemology
knowledge.
is the
When we
study of knowledge.
yes, but not human understanding. It's not psychology.
I didn't
It's
say
the
human
study of how we
understanding.
form and evaluate knowledge. It's the study, and it operates a priori as well. It does not. It's not normative. We don't form or control epistemology at all. It is something that is inherent, the same as ontology. It is the methodology of
I
how we
disagree.
form these ideas.
I disagree with what you had just said there, but I'm not considering knowledge at all. If no mind exists, we're talking about like 5 minutes after the Big Bang.
Outside of our perspective. Yeah.
Well, 5 minutes after the Big Bang, the universe is too hot for even atoms to form. But there was stuff, quarks were flying around. That was true, right?
Are you sure? Can you prove that?
Well, it doesn't. So I'm asking you, is it true? I can't prove that.
I have no idea.
All right, but
it could be.
It's true that there either was or there were not quarks.
Of course.
Okay.
Now what?
And no mind existed. Therefore, truth is ontological. It has nothing to do with epistemology. Something can be true even if you don't know it. And that throws out this stuff you were saying about
That's not what epistemology is talking about. That's not what you're talking about, understanding, not knowledge.
Epistemology is the study of knowledge. And you're saying
of knowledge, not understanding. So no, what it's talking about the ways in which we understand and form knowledge. It's talking about how we it's a priori, it's not normative. It operates on a level above normal, what we're talking about.
I just
so that's why I was kind of being difficult with your questions. Look, no, Google it. I know I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but
the theory of knowledge, especially with regard to its methods, validity, and scope.
Its methodology, validity, and scope. It's the way we evaluate it and the way we form it.
That's exactly how it was used.
It's not talking about our actual knowledge.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
But
Okay,
logic
but
is the way that we form knowledge.
Mario,
So
if there's
logic
no
is
mind,
inherently
Mario,
epistemological.
if no mind exists, knowledge isn't possible, right?
No. Oh,
How could something
consciousness?
be
You mean conscious?
known?
You mean conscious? You mean consciousness, right?
I said a mind.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I got a
Okay,
little too
so
technical. Yes.
all right,
Yeah,
all right, so and nothing can be known without a mind, right?
of course.
But things could still be true.
Yes.
That means
Because
I'm right.
truth. No.
That's what that means.
You're dipping. You're
How
double dipping
how could I
into
be wrong?
normative and a priori. You're double dipping. You're operating
How
on two
can you
levels at
say-
once.
I'm not saying. Why are we going to onto a priori knowledge? No
Because-
mind exists. A
Okay,
priori is
but a
that's
mind exists now for us
epistemology.
to understand it and shape that. What I'm saying is, for logic is how we form knowledge. Correct?
No. Well, logic is.
It is
I
a
don't
way
know.
that in which we form.
Yes,
it's a way in which we
it's-
form knowledge. Correct? So for us to use a logical
that's
system
one
to
of the
prove
things that logic
truth,
does.
it's epistemological. So you're operating on two levels. I'm operating on one. All I'm saying
I don't
is
understand.
that in order for us to have truth, to use the rules that you're talking about, that you're using, that you're basing your whole argument on, that is an epistemological thing by nature. Because
No, it's
we are
not, because-
using it to form our understanding of
No,
the world.
because what I just said that you agreed to is that things could be true even if there weren't any
can.
minds. So that
course,
means if there's
because
no
we're
minds,
using-
there's no knowledge, which means that
But there is- But I am.
if it can be true, if truth can exist without a mind, then epistemology is no longer relevant to when we're discussing truth.
So that's why I didn't want to say yes, because there's a different. So for us to understand the arguments that you're making, the reality you're making, that is an epistemological process.
Could you tell me what makes something true?
I already did.
What was it?
If A, then B, A, therefore B.
No. That's just the premise. I'm asking what makes something true.
No, that's what makes something. Oh, what do you mean?
Okay. Well, a proposition.
If we can prove it, then it's true. If it's a proposition, it has a conclusion.
Now
we can prove it.
you're saying it. So you're saying, so what makes something true is whether we can prove it.
Whether it's like proof on paper, like a proof. That's what it's called. Whenever if a.
So
you know,
it's not
therefore-
true unless someone has written out a formal syllogism for it.
No, because it's a system of possibility. So that equation exists.
Well, okay, but what
We
makes
have to
something
discover
true?
it. It's like saying fire didn't exist until we discovered it. Of course, fire existed. We discovered
Okay,
it.
all
So
right,
you're verifying truth. That's why I say the word verified truth.
But
You have to
I
verify
say
it.
something. All right, I say Facade has a bike. What makes that proposition true?
If you can prove it.
So you are
If-
saying that you're saying something's not true unless you can prove it. That means
Using formal logic.
that means black holes. It wasn't true that black holes existed until we
No,
could prove it. Which
you're double
doesn't
dipping
make
on
any
two different
sense.
levels. You're double dipping on two different. I'm making the same sort of argument you are, and that's what I don't know what we're arguing about, because all I'm saying is that you're taking a rule that's syntax that's made as a foundation for this formal logic system, and you're saying that that's how we evaluate truth. It's not. It's part of the methodology. The way that you prove something, and of course, if you say something is or isn't is true, that's a
All
truth
right,
statement.
all
You're
right,
not proving anything.
All
You're
right, so
not making a truth claim. You're
So,
just proving
let's go back to
2
the
equals 2.
example. Facade has a bike. What needs to be in order for that to be true?
You have to have for it to be truth, like in the way that we're talking about, ontologically and epistemologically. You have to have
I don't care about
if A,
epistemology.
then B, then
But I'm talking about in the way you're defining truth. What
I'm
will
telling
make
you,
this
I'm
statement to
answering
be
the question.
okay?
I'm answering the question. You have to be able to write it out in a proof so that you can say it's true. Because in formal logic, the system you're using, and I'm going to make the same argument because it's all I'm saying, is the
All right.
system you're using requires you to make a proof.
So what
say
you're
it's true.
saying. But Mario, here's the problem you run into by using it that way, because when we talk about a state where no minds existed, you would
You're
have to
operating on
say
two
that.
levels.
But Mark, you're saying that something's not true unless you can write out a formal syllogism about it.
This is the system you're using.
It's not the system I'm using because I don't care about our ability to
Are we using
describe
reason?
it.
Are we using reason?
Yes, we're using reason,
Okay,
but
so what form of
you
reason are
do
you
not
using?
have to write out a formal syllogism of something in
It
order
has to
for
be.
it to be
It has
true.
to be. You have to be
I
able
don't
to.
have.
There has to
I
be
know.
one.
I do not have to write out a formal syllogism in order for the moon to exist.
But you do in order for your computer to work. You do in order because
No,
it's
I
the best
don't.
way to
The
evaluate truth.
computer can
Yes, you
work
do.
regardless if I write a syllogism describing that it works.
Computers work on syllogism. It's actually how we made AI. This is the system that all of our computers work on. It's
Syllogisms?
formal logic, deductive reason. Deductive reasoning. Yes, it's you can look it up. That's how they code. Is all they're doing is they're coding out
Okay,
these equations.
they're not using syllogisms, but
Well, no, they're using deductive
I get
reasoning and
you
the
got
rules we're
you're
talking
talking
about.
you're talking to two guys who got masters in computer science, right? They're not using syllogisms. That's not what's
Well, I
going on
mean,
there.
they're using
All right,
proofs.
let's talk. Let's get away from the complexity of IT. Let's talk about the moon. The moon exists regardless of whether
It
you write
does.
out a syllogism, right?
But that syllogism
Wouldn't
it's like fire.
Wouldn't that
Just because we didn't
invalidate?
discover it doesn't mean it wasn't there.
Yes, but
So, I
even
mean,
if no mind existed, the moon would still be.
agreed. I don't disagree. I'm not disagreeing with you, Murph. I'm not, and I don't disagree
Sounds
with
like you are.
Mr. Fantastic. What's no? All I'm saying, and this is why I'm getting frustrated because I'm operating with the same system you are, and you're arguing against me. But we're operating in the same system, and I'm saying you're using it wrong. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think we're so
You
because
can say that's truth, but you can't call it true because you haven't made a point. You haven't to say. All I'm saying is that to say something is or isn't doesn't really do anything, and it doesn't
it does.
help you
It builds the
understand truth.
foundation. So like that's
What a
what you
foundation
just
for what?
described. For logic, for reasoning. You can't do any reasoning outside of that.
I agree, and that's the reasoning I'm using. I'm saying that the foundation you're
Well,
building is
there
the
you
foundation
there
of
you
what
go.
I'm describing.
There's its
You're not
utility.
completing the circle.
You
So
can't
what I'm saying is,
do
yeah, you. Sorry.
what I was going to say was you can't do any reasoning without it. So therein lies
Agreed.
the utility.
But you can't call it truth. It's part of the syntax, and it's one of the rules in which you use to write out truth. It's like saying long division is math. It's not. It's a process that we use to arrive to our conclusion, which in formal logic is how you evaluate truth. It's in the rules. It's this is text. It's like calculus. I'm not making it up. So you're describing syntax.
I understand like some of the things you say may be in textbooks. I mean, I don't care if it's in the textbook.
It's formal logic. It's like you're arguing calculus, but you're not assessing to the conclusion, so you can't claim it to be true, which is the point of deductive reasoning.
I don't think like as far as reason is concerned, we're nowhere near the realm of calculus. We're like just establishing numbers. We're in the very foundations of reasoning.
This is the 2 plus 2.
It's not even arithmetic. We're just counting. We're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you can't do any form of math without the numbers existing.
Yeah,
and so what you want to do is you want to use higher levels of math, such as calculus, that prove the numbers. You want to prove that 2 is actually 2 using calculus. And what I'm saying that 2 has to be 2 in order for calculus to work. That is going to be circular.
It does. Well, sometimes.
We mean sometimes.
Calculus is weird. But if I went to my math teacher and she wrote out an equation, how many apples did Tommy have? And I said, Tommy either has 11 apples or he doesn't. That's a wrong. She's gonna mark that as an X because I haven't said anything.
You didn't answer the question.
Anything.
You didn't answer. You didn't answer the question.
And so when he asked what is truth, my disagreement was, of course what you're saying is true, but you're not answering the question. All you're doing is describing the syntax. You've got to answer the question. You need to have a proof.
No, wait. When Fasad had said that, because this was the question that you had asked me, was that you had said that we can't verify a proposition is true because we're limited by our induction. We have to perceive it through our mind, and our mind can be wrong and all that kind of stuff. And the example that I was giving was things that are based on reason, not on any sort of empirical verification.
So what I was saying is
So
that,
I don't. So
and that was a
there are.
different argument, but I still agree with that. I just don't think it's a useful argument. So I still think it's circular, because the way that you're proving, you're using the same system.
The circle.
So this is where it is. It's you're using the same system to evaluate truth as you already to evaluate reality, correct? Which is reason.
No, I'm not evaluating reality. I'm not even evaluating the truthfulness of a proposition. I was just giving a definition.
Oh, I remember
So
at the beginning of the debate, you said that this is a analytical, so it's a definition.
yeah, I'm
that's how
giving
you're
you a
defining it.
definition of what truth is.
So that equation is both reality and truth. So yeah, so reality and
No,
truth.
I'm
you
not
knew are the
giving
same
any.
thing.
It's not an equation. I'm telling you what a definition, what a word means. Truth, and I'm talking about a truth is when a proposition corresponds to reality. So it doesn't matter what the reality is. It doesn't matter what the proposition is. All right. Well, I'm just saying whatever it is.
Well, I'm saying that
if P corresponds to reality,
how do you differentiate between the two?
Differentiate between
How do you
reality and
differentiate
proposition.
between the two? What's the difference between the
Reality
and truth? What's the difference?
Reality is what is. Propositions are descriptions of what is. So
And if they match up
your
with
reality,
what is.
your reality, and
So-
then I can make the proposition Mario exists. So Mario
Okay.
exists. That proposition would be truth. Your reality. You're not true. I can true propositions can be made about you, but you can't be true. You're just reality. You're just is.
Okay. So how do we determine what is?
Well, there's a number of ways you can do that. You can do it inductively and you can do it deductively. If you do it inductively, that has problems.
It's not
right? Because
yeah.
Well, it could still be true. You're just not that certain of
but
it.
you can't.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I'm a fallibilist. I can say you can still make true statements. Like I can say the Earth revolves or orbits the sun, even though I could be wrong about that. But I don't need absolute certainty to say that.
So
it's
that's
true.
a scientific term. That's not a philosophical one. So when we're talking about truth, you can't be
That is
fallibilist.
that is a philosophical. That's all
a bad
philosophy.
one.
We're just talking about.
Yeah, it's a.
It's called fallibilism. Like in order, you couldn't even be a scientist without being a fallibilist. It wouldn't, because you wouldn't say any of it is true.
Yeah, no, that it's it.
So
Yeah, but
so
if you're trying to being a fallibilist is just saying I might be right, but we're talking about reason and logic.
It's not, so fallibilist is not saying I might be right.
It could be wrong.
No. So a fallibilist, if you're a fallibilist, what you're saying is you can make truth statements in the absence of absolute certainty. So I can say that it's true that I'm talking to Mario and not a clone.
You can.
Yeah.
You can't say that's true, but it doesn't make it true.
So that's what. Like if later on my wife said, "Who you have on a podcast?" and I say, "Oh, an old camper that I had back down in when I was working in Texas." I don't know for certain that's true. You could be a clone, but that's what I would tell her, and I would say that is true. That is fallibilism.
But that's not in the realm of reason and formal logic, unless you're doing an inductive system, which doesn't prove truth. It proves probability or possibility. So what you're doing is you're taking your personal philosophies that you've accepted and you're trying to superimpose them on a set system that does not allow for them. Maybe an inductive reasoning, yeah, but you're not proving truth in inductive reasoning. By definition, you're proving probability.
Fallibilism only applies to induction, as far as I'm concerned.
It's a scientific principle. It's saying,
but
I can say that the tectonic plates are like this. I know it's probably not completely true, but I know I'm on the right track. That's where that comes from. You know, it's not a philosophical system here in this realm.
I was gonna say we're coming up at the end of my time. I gotta get ready to feed my daughter, but man, dude, this was a interesting conversation. Very lively. Nah, man, I loved every minute of it. I know Facade he got heated. And like this is how the show goes. We get heated sometimes. Hola, Mike.
All right, man. Thank you for having me.
No, I wasn't talking to you. I was saying not to you. I was talking to the guy in the chat. But yeah, I mean, dude, I like to get you back on sometime, man. And we, I don't think we may not find any agreement here, but we can. I like to like delve into why you are or not a Christian. I like to figure out what's going on there. So,
Yeah.
yeah, because I'm very curious about that, and see because we could sway you one way or the other. Because I'm not going to try to dissuade you from Christianity. I'm just curious, honestly. So,
All right.
but yeah, man. Hey, I appreciate you coming on, man. But
All right. Thank you.
yeah, man. No problem, Morrow. All right,
All right,
good,
bye.
man.